Yeah. Yeah, doing good. Doing good. Yep. How about you? Hanging in there? Oh, yeah. Yeah, they got you at the a perfect time. You can't say, well, I my job is keeping me from, yeah. Oh, right. I haven't. No, I mean, I have used it because other people use it, but yeah, not for myself. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, they can't really interview 1,000 people. So I guess most of them figure 10 is good enough. They can pick one out of those and they'd get a pretty good employee. Not too much. No, not anymore. Yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, smaller-ish websites, so yeah, not too bad. So you'd have to run something like dependency tracker or dependency track. Yeah, which is good. I mean, if you built something new recently, that's maybe a web app, then you better start looking carefully. But yeah, if you're just maintaining older stuff, 2, 3, 4 years old or more, you probably haven't upgraded yet. So when did these come out? These versions 19. Uh-huh. When did 19.0 come out? Yeah, I'm trying to find it, but I may just have to Google it. You can't hear me? Oh no. Okay.
Just doing my little thing, singing my little song here. I can see the output on my little mic thing, but apparently it doesn't do well here with There it goes. Okay, so that's better.
Ah, thank you, thank you, Deluxy. Appreciate you. Yep, you win. You win the prize of the day. Thank you for speaking up because I could have gone forever on this. Um, yeah, sometimes. So, just to recap, React2shell is a bad thing. If you have React version 19, you're probably vulnerable. If you have React 18, you don't. Mr. Betcher and I were looking to see when React 19 came out. According to the React dev blog, it came out on December 20 or December 5th of last year, so roughly 1 year ago today. And according to the discussion there, um, yeah. So we were talking about multi-level dependencies, the fact that like log4j was a third or fourth level dependency. React in next.js is probably a second or a third, depending on how deep your dependencies go. It may be overlooked. So yeah, I think this is the first time I'm not going to give DevOps slack for not upgrading.
Yeah.
um, yeah. Um, yeah. I
Well,
have seen that several times in my career where it's like there's a Linux kernel vulnerability, and then it's like I've been harping on the team to get updated to the latest version. In this case, I think it was a 2.6 kernel. We were still using like a 2.4 kernel, and come to find out we're not vulnerable. Not only were we not vulnerable, our kernel version was even before the bug was actually inputted in. So I was like, it's good. It's good sometimes to not be running the bleeding edge. Now I will say, depending on how the DevOps team, how quickly they're updating or if they're testing, they might have a dev website out there that is testing that. So if you
yep.
have a
Yep.
company.dev site where you're testing these things, I would be concerned. Like if your main site still runs React 18 or Next.js version with React 18 in it, you might want to look at whatever dev websites your DevOps or your SRE folks are playing with that are exposed to the, you know, internally or externally. Because if they're testing React 19, then you're still vulnerable. You're still having to deal with this stuff. It's just it hopefully is not using real data in your development website to test these things. So that was a recap. I'm trying to make this
Well,
content. I'm trying to make this content stuff so that I can actually show that I'm an educator to companies when they're like, hey, Brian does a podcast, he does a Twitch stream, that kind of stuff. But then it's like I do stupid shit like no microphone. So
well, we're not AI, so we do make mistakes, right?
it's my ass. Yeah, it's make my ass sweat. Hopefully, I would go mental if they use real data in the dev environment. Well, Deluxy, I can tell you some stories. I can tell you some stories. Maybe if you find me at a conference or something, you can ask me those questions one time or another. So, I'm not saying it's in my current job, but I have stories about other places that consultancy times and at other places where they didn't see any problems with that. So. I think the real issue here is it's a remote code exec, right? So depending on how your environment is set up, the remote code exec might allow them to gain additional access or do some lateral movement. I saw an article on LinkedIn about the differences between Log4j and React2shell, and a lot of it was gaining a low level, quiet persistence across the environment. And I found that quite interesting, where you would have this, and then you'd want to lie low. You wouldn't want to let people know, so you can you keep track of that. What you got there?
Yeah,
Send
I
your
was just searching
developers.
for like how do I find it, right? We
Oh,
mentioned
right, right, right.
before your mic was on, um, maybe scanning
Yeah,
dependencies, things like that.
right,
That's like a static code analysis,
right.
but yeah, you could send them a URL and say, "Hey, go find this,"
Yeah,
something
yep.
of that effect.
Yeah, there's that. Also, one of the things that I was thinking about today with all of this was, we tell people just to patch, right? Just patch. To Deluxe's point of view, or to Deluxe's point, we tell the DevOps, hey, you're not using the latest version, you need to patch. 18 may still be supported, but 19 is the new hotness. You want to patch. Just patch, just patch. Um, and as we found, that it's not always possible to. So I actually found every cloud provider, Microsoft,
Mhm.
Google, and Amazon all have blog posts talking about how to protect themselves against um, React2shell, or detection methods, or certain things that you can do to protect your organization if you can't, if you're running 19 and you can't just patch, because you might be high availability, or you got things that are specific to that version that you don't want to futz around with. So I'm posting those links up into chats for everybody. But there's Google, Amazon, and Microsoft, and they all of them have some WAF um, rules definition that you can use to protect yourself against the CVE currently. And um, I, yeah, so like Microsoft came out with their stuff on the 4th. Uh, Amazon came out with theirs on the 4th as well. So it looked like it was a fairly concerted effort from everybody to have their stuff out. It looks like Google came out with theirs almost immediately. They came out with theirs on the 3rd. They updated it on the 5th to update recommended syntax of the Cloud Armor WAF. So if you have a WAF, which you should have a WAF in your environment, there is ways to put WAF rules in. And so if you're not using the cloud version of this, perhaps one of these three examples in your Google, the Google, the Amazon, or the Microsoft version will be some rule set you could munge yourself to your own specific WAF. And if you're using a Fortinet or using a Cisco, they probably already have some kind of update that they've pushed to help protect you
They
from that
do.
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a couple of websites as you were talking just to make sure. And they
Hmm.
said, we reacted within hours to push our. So yes, if you have one of those vendors to
Right.
protect your websites, um,
Yep.
they likely pushed it out already.
Right. Right. And if you have a managed service provider, they've probably already done that, or managed security provider, they've already, pushed some rules, or hopefully they've got whatever it is they
But
need for
ask
that.
them. Yeah. Definitely
Yes,
do your
definitely
due
ask.
diligence.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we learned that you can scan the internet now in a matter of hours, the entire thing. And so yeah.
Especially something that's 1 year old, right?
Exactly, exactly. So I'm posting all this up in the YouTube chat as well. If you're using Burp Suite and you just want to futz around, maybe the other thing I found interesting with this was reported a lot of bug bounty researchers, bless their hearts. If you're from the South, you know what I mean there. Have been pushing this to bug bounty programs like HackerOne and BugCrowd and those as, hey, this is a vulnerability, pay me. I've
Mm.
heard it. I've saw it on LinkedIn because I live there now, where they're saying, yeah, bug bounty researchers are flooding various websites that are using React with, hey, this is a vulnerability, fix this, pay me, that kind of thing. Um, I don't begrudge them trying to make a buck, but yeah, I don't think they're doing their due diligence in some cases.
Well,
Also,
there are
Portswigger has a module, Active Scan Plus Plus, that you can get for, I think, the Pro version, that you can use for also checking and detecting for that.
you if you do have bug bounty, you probably have that company sort of triaging all those
They should be. They should be.
reports that come in. So they'll know probably
Right.
who's just scanning the internet for querying, for this vulnerability and just submitting reports left and right, hoping to
Yes.
get a bug.
Yes. Yes. And I will say it is a legitimate issue. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
HackerOne or the bug crowds or whoever else is the big ones out there will
Yeah.
triage this vulnerability and pass it along to the various internal teams for triage. So they're going to get a critical issue out of this if you haven't already been, and for some it'll be like, hey, we already know about it. It's a known issue or a duplicate or something we're already aware of and we're already doing triage on. So some folks, depending on how quickly you're responding internally before you actually get it from your bug bounty team, um, they're not going to get paid. But the slower ones, maybe the people that don't realize maybe they have Next.js, but they don't realize they have React, are gonna get hit with this. So, yeah, I actually had to
Well,
go and do some. Go ahead. What's up?
I got about 25 minutes and I gotta go. But I
Okay.
just wanted to show you guys, I got a letter from AT&T. It's a little
Oh.
card.
Oh.
AT&T Data Incident Settlement. So it's from
Oh.
a breach they had. So I asked the AI, what breach is it? Because they didn't really say. It just says breach litigation.
Right.
And I'm sure
Right.
millions of people got this.
I think
I'm
I
not
got one
alone.
too through email. Yeah.
But it
Yep.
says AT&T has agreed to make available a non-reversionary all-cash fund of $149 million
Yep.
to pay
Yep.
settlement administration, court costs, and attorney's fees.
Yep.
So yeah, so I asked the AI what breach that was, and it said there are two, but
Right.
this is the first one for 149 million. There's another one for 40. Well, it's actually 39 million,
Right.
and I researched a little bit into it, and basically they were using Snowflake without multi-factor authentication. So
And
one employee's account was popped
right.
with no MFA, and
No
yeah, this
MFA.
happened. So anyway,
Okay.
just thought that was interesting.
Yeah,
Popped up
I got an
last.
email for that. I got an email for that too, but I haven't used AT&T in forever. So, I mean, um,
Apparently your data was in there though.
that's a good point. I think the last time we used AT&T was when we lived in Austin and we had AT&T as a service provider, an internet service provider. I
Yeah.
haven't had a cell phone with AT&T for, I don't know, since 2008,
Yeah.
2007, something like that.
The
So,
second breach was for cell phones. The first one was probably for
okay.
home or internet. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I got that settlement as well. I got it in an email. And of course, it sounds nice. It's like, hey, click here and get free money. And I'm like, oh, yes, please. Um, uh,
But you have to fill out forms and provide, how it screwed up your life and things like that.
yeah,
So
yeah. Oh,
it's,
AT&T online
I
bill.
mean, the lawyers are going to get more than actual people will, I'm sure.
Oh, you know what? I did have AT&T up until we left Seattle because AT&T bought DirecTV. So if you have DirecTV, you may also have
Oh,
been
that's
involved in the
right.
settlement as well. Yes. Um, yeah, because I have my it says your new AT&T bill now part of my AT&T service DirecTV, and that was in 2023. So yeah, that was part of it as well. So if you have DirecTV or you have a cell phone or whatever, before AT&T spun off their stuff. So um, yep,
Yeah, it
yep,
just goes to show you that it's tough. And so
yeah,
this could either happen, policies aren't enforced.
right,
Um, you could have an acquisition and that acquiring company didn't have MFA, and
right,
sometimes it takes a long time to get that in place.
yep, yep,
There's all kinds of, you could have service accounts that don't use MFA or
right,
can't, right? And it through no fault of your own, it just cannot do the MFA, it has one mode of authentication. That's a password. You got to keep it close to the vest, right?
right. Yep.
So there's a lot of reasons why certain accounts don't have MFA,
Yep.
especially in large companies like that.
Yeah.
So it's
Yep.
incumbent upon people like us to find creative ways to make sure that multi-factor does happen
Yep. Yeah.
in as many places as possible. Otherwise, things like this, are
Yeah.
eventually going to take place, especially with large targets like that and their entire data warehouse.
Yep. I look forward to getting my $12 in the mail. So
Yeah.
yeah, because I just saw another one that I was going to talk about was the Comcast one that came out. Where was that one? Let me see. Oh, by the way, was the URL on your post? You got a postcard in the mail. I don't remember getting a postcard. I think I got an email. It was called
Yeah.
telecomdatasettlement.com. Is that not the worst URL you could probably use for a?
Yes, that's it. It's on the postcard.
It's got to be legit because it says telecom data settlement on it. How easy would it be to fish somebody going like, hey, your Comcast class action is done. Go to I'm not going to completely, take all your
Wouldn't it be
money.org and
wouldn't it be crazy if okay, so the attackers did breach the data. They got
oh
all
yeah,
of our email addresses and mailing addresses, and the attackers themselves created a website called telecomdatasettlement.com,
yep,
sent out all
yep.
this information, and then tried to, I don't know, harvest credit card numbers or whatever it is they do.
They would make a mint because they could, they're just going to say, well, before we send you your payment of, it says up to $5,000 for losses. So somebody's like, oh, I can make $5,000, and all I have to do is send them an iTunes gift card, and then it's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
how many people would send an iTunes gift card?
I
It
mean,
would,
your odds, if you send 1 million emails
right, right, yeah. I
and you
mean,
only
you're going to
get
get
1%,
it's still 10,000 people at five, a
at
$50
$50 a
iTunes
pop.
gift card or something, so. Can you imagine that AT&T only deals with iTunes gift cards? We only accept payment in iTunes gift cards. Um,
Yeah.
Dear God. Yeah. Where was the one for Comcast?
Send
Where
your
was it? Okay.
$50 processing fee in
Yeah.
iTunes
Exactly.
gift cards.
50. Yeah. We have to. Yeah. It's a $50 processing fee so that we can send you your $5,000.
Yes.
From the Nigerian prince that's paying out the class action that is available. Um, this one kind of got me though because I used Comcast in the past, and they had to pay a $1.5 million fine after a vendor breach exposed 237,000 current and former customers. So I'm probably in that one too. They're paying a $1.5 million fine. I'm sure the class action will come out for that one as well. Um, uh, $1.5 million, by the way.
A fine to what, the US government?
That's my assumption is they're paying the FCC commission $1.5 million fine for a vendor breach, and that's the fine that they're paying. $1.5 million.
That's just the fine. That doesn't include anything else.
Right, and we won't see that one for another. But just to give you an idea, let me go Comcast Q3 2025 profits. So I actually looked this up ahead of time. Um,
Uh-huh.
in as of October 30th, 2025, Comcast Corporation made let me see, $9.7 billion in Q3 of 2025. Free cash flow of $4.9 billion. Returned $2.8 billion to shareholders through a combination of a $1.2 billion dividend and $1.5 billion in share repurchases, reducing shares outstanding by 5% compared to the prior year. They paid $1.5 million for 237,000 uh, customers. They haven't paid the class action, which probably is coming if it hasn't already. But that's roughly what, like 5 cents per person,
Yeah.
something like that. So 5 cents per
I
record
mean,
is all that a customer is worth these days for a company.
I feel like I'm just picking up pennies and these guys are dropping wads.
Yeah.
you
I
know?
mean, $1.5 million is pocket lint for the CEO of Comcast.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they 9.7 billion. It's hardly a rounding error at this point. I mean, I'm sure they missed that much in their couch cushions. Kind of makes me unhappy that they can get away with such a small fine like that. So I'm hoping that yeah, we'll all get 27 bucks or something later on in about 12 years after the class action is completed. So, um, but yeah, um,
Yeah, I
yeah, it's
remember
rough.
my first dealing with a class action. I got a letter and Chevrolet had this truck that had two gas tanks, but it was not
Right.
inside the frame. They were outside the frame. So I
Oh,
think 60 Minutes or somebody did an expose on it,
right,
and they showed in the video, or they slow-mode the video, and later on the TV station, I forget what channel it was, they admitted to actually detonating one of the tanks in a
right,
rollover.
right,
But they still had to pay a class action lawsuit, and I don't know why. But I guess everybody got scared and sold their trucks or whatever at pennies on the dollar or whatnot. And I got this thing in the mail. They settled for millions of dollars, and I could have gotten, I don't know, 60 bucks.
right,
I
right.
didn't even bother.
This was back in 1993, by the way. I found the LA Times article that had mentioned it. And NBC, parent, NBC,
NBC.
the company,
So they
admits it
faked
rigged the
a
crash.
video.
Right. Yep. NBC said Tuesday night it aired in staging a fiery test crash of General Motors pickup for its Dateline
Yeah.
NBC News program and agreed to settle a defamation suit filed by the automaker. So yeah, they admitted
So
that
yeah,
it
they
used an
scared
incendiary
everybody.
device. Yep. 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 That's rough. Yeah. The 15-minute segment was addressing critics' charges that the GM's full-size pickup trucks built between 73 and 87 are unsafe because the gasoline tanks are on the sides of the trucks outside of the frame. Yep, that's
Wow.
nuts.
And
Yep.
and I don't think they admitted it until they were caught, right? By like video analysts
Yeah.
actually looked at every frame and
Yep.
noticed that there was a detonation.
Yep. Yep. I was trying to see if that 1993 news article mentions, how they found it, if they, were like you said, analyzing the audio, the video, or whatever. So wow. Yeah.
I don't think they admitted it until they were confronted in court, which is surprising. Like, okay,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
is the news even real? I mean, really, that was 93.
Yep. Yep. They used remote controlled incendiary device to spark a fire in one test. The use of igniters was not disclosed on Dayline. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
Wow.
They still had to announce the lawsuit. They launched, yeah, 5 days after they awarded $105.2 million to the teenage son that was killed by a pickup he was driving exploding into flames, because the jury found the automaker negligent. I mean, it's not the same thing as Comcast with its fines, but um, yeah, I mean, it's just interesting times that we live in with the litigiousness of everything,
Right.
and how in many cases how useless our info. We obviously value our information more than companies do, and the people who are involved in paying the fine or making companies pay those fines, they're just not as interested either. Um,
And I have to admit, governments are cracking down. I mean, with the EU and like California, I know Canada has strict privacy laws, so
yeah,
it's getting there
yeah.
slowly.
Yeah,
But
it's gonna take more people caring, but I mean Comcast is not going to see. It used to be where we could say we could use bad PR, we could use loss of reputation, we could use stock price going down, but we don't have those. We don't have those things to use in terms of risk, adversity, or whatever. Um,
yeah,
I don't. I'm there are some companies that still worry about that stuff, but for larger companies, billion dollar, trillion dollar companies, that the news cycle doesn't bother them.
Pay the
You know,
fine, move on. It's like
yeah,
these large banks like JP Morgan manipulating the market and getting a slap on the wrist fine. They make billions and get fined millions. Well, they're just going to
right,
keep doing
right,
it.
right. Yeah, uh, yeah, that was the um, and I think somebody, I think I'd seen again, I'm living on LinkedIn, but somebody had posted that up. It's like you can spend, same with security controls or compliance stuff. It's like you could spend, a person year and $500,000 setting, up this system, or you could just pay a $100,000 fine every year. And, sometimes it's cheaper just to pay the fine than to go through the pain and torture and headache of trying to abide by the compliance requirements.
Yeah.
And in some case
Well, of course.
that is a valid acceptance of the risk or the threat. It's like, hey, if we don't do this, we're going to get fined by the FCC. And it's like, well, what does it take to implement this? Well, it's going to take all of this stuff. Yeah, we can make billions of dollars in the time that it's going to take them millions to get us. So let's just go ahead and let it happen. That kind of thing. I'm sure security people hate
Yeah.
that because it's like the ethics side of us wants our customers to be safe. The customers, the business will see the customers as, that's just a cost of doing business.
And then they can justify it as, okay, well, half the companies that have your data have already been breached anyway. So it's not like it's not out there already.
Yeah, I've seen those arguments from lawyers and from other folks as well, and I hate to say it,
It's
but
legitimate.
it is a legitimate argument, right? How many data breaches has Brian been involved with in the last 5 years, where his social security number, his date of birth, his middle name, his first dog, his third grade teacher with his security answers, or all of that information is not already publicly available. So you're absolutely right. I guess that's why we wait until Friday to put out that kind of bad news. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
People just want to go home and spend time with the family.
yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. Let me find out. I had another couple of things. Sorry to go back to React. Sorry, Deluxe. Yeah, no problem. Sorry to go back to React2shell. After applying WAF rules and patching, the obvious question from higher ups will be, how can we be sure we weren't compromised already? We'd have to dig through logs. You absolutely would probably have to dig through logs. Uh, did that Sonatype tell you the detection methods, Mr. Betcher? Find and fix
For
React.
WAF, but oh yeah, let me look.
So a couple of the other things, it mentioned is the packages that you're using. If you're using DOM Webpack, DOM Parcel, or DOM TurboPack. Um, oh, if you're using Next.js versions greater than 14.3, Canary 77, or less than. Really? No, wait. It's between Canary 77 and Canary 88. So if you're using like a beta version of Next.js in production, which you ideally shouldn't be doing, or Next.js 15 or 16, other ecosystems like Waku, Redwood, Vite RSC plugin, Parcel RSC, or React Router are also affected by this issue. Let me see. How would you detecting React to show? So here's a sysdig article. I haven't read through it. I literally just clicked on it. Uh, that we will look through together, y'all. Sorry, Mr. Betcher. Let me pop that in chat for you. Technical analysis. Here you go. Yeah. So we've got a good write up here. Next.js 1504, 1606 plus canaries from 13. 14.3, Canary 77 and on. Redwood SDK, Vite RSC, Parcel RSC. Standard create next app production build is vulnerable without modifications. Default configurations are exploitable outside of the box. Yeah, that was the other thing I heard is like if you're using these versions of create next app in React and you're using default configs, they are exploitable outside of the box. If you're using a custom configuration, you may also not be vulnerable. But I was trying to figure out, detections and mitigation. Here we go. Has reinforced the suspicious executed by web server rule. This detection catches most unexpected arbitrary commands spawned by web services. Proc.aname fields may be needed to be adjusted for your environment. So it looks like you can look for things like proc.name or see WAF responses. Cloudflare's deployed rules already. They actually had an outage. Cloudflare had an outage. It wasn't a complete outage. It was like a degradation in capability for about 6 hours, I think, on Friday, where they were affected by the React bug. Cloud Armor, Google Cloud Armor's added a CVE canary rule. Vercel has deployed platform level protections. Firebase hosting and app hosting is also reinforcing exploitation limiting rules. The write-up, okay, so one organization, Asset Note, released a scanner that differentiates vulnerable from patched hosts. The write-up details a mechanism which sends a bracket, double quote, or $1, $A:1:A. So it looks like this.
They misworded it. They said, on the other hand, prevent this crash.
Right.
I guess they're just saying error, not an actual server crash, right?
Right. Servers return a 500 with digest. Patch versions, on the other hand, prevent this crash. So it sounds like that there's something in React that when that is sent, it causes a crash, which then allows for execution of code in that case. So let me go look for let me do a Google search on that bit there. Oh, no, that's
So
one
you need to
euro.
scan. Well, this is what the AI is telling me. Scan with Qualys, Rapid7, Burp, Wiz, Sysdig, open source,
Right.
Tenable, things like that.
Right.
The open source
Alexi,
is
if you have Burp Suite Professional, I think we posted up a link that they have a plugin that you can use called, what was it called? Active Scan Plus Plus, that you can just download the BAP and use that as well. It obviously won't scale if you've got 100, React servers or whatever. You can have that. It will also scan for things like Log4Shell and Solar injections and struts and shell shock and a bunch of other things too. So that may actually be extensible. So you may be able to add other vulnerability checks to that to remove issues there. So your threat detection team should be all over that as well. Let me go see. Yeah, there's a whole Portswigger blog post on how to detect React2shell. A lot of companies are definitely getting a lot of blog post time out of this as well. Actually, a couple of the jobs that I was interviewing for was talking about creating content, which I was like, hey, I create content. I think it's mostly good content, I think, but trying to leverage that. But they also mentioned Bombada in that Portswigger document. If it says you need more focused on-demand testing, you can import the community-created React2shell Bombda, BAMBDA, and run it against specific endpoints or applications. This is ideal for quickly validating a suspected vulnerable app or probing specific components to reproduce reported behavior. And then Burp Suite has their DAST tool, which Active Scan also is available in their DAST tool. Interesting.
that
Good job,
asset
Tom Ryder.
note.
What's that? Oh, Asset Note, yeah.
Asset note is on GitHub. Looks
Right.
promising.
Yep. there were so many POCs out there for this thing. Seemed like everybody had a method of doing this. Um,
You need
I think
Python
that's
for
why
that,
I
though.
think that's why we're always fond of saying just patch, right? Because by the time this kind of stuff comes out, it can be too late to say how do we detect this thing? How do we set up mitigations for these things? You know, yeah, we can't patch this thing. What are we going to do? You're either having to figure out how to detect and find it yourself, assuming that you're big enough to have an organization that has a threat detection team or is actively looking through logs for interesting strings like that, and then figuring out how to put that in your WAF, or you know sometimes it's just easier to patch because just patch is just easier. That's the straightforward system one method of fixing your issues. So
Yeah, it looks like a web app scanner from the outside can detect it.
well, I mean,
You don't
considering the
have to
vulnerability
have.
itself is remotely accessible too, that would make sense.
Yep, it does.
Yep. All right, Delexi, good luck on your meeting. Sorry that well, I don't know what time zone you're in. Sorry you're getting in there late or getting in there early. Um, Good luck on that, and hope our stuff was useful to you. Oh, Thailand. Okay, so good morning to you. And yeah, hope our information was helpful to you. So invite me.
All
I got
right.
nothing to do if you need me to join a Zoom call. I'm just I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, good thing you enabled those WAF rules on Friday. Yeah. Um, Yeah, and good thing that you enacted the WAF rules and they actually worked, and it wasn't like, oh, we need to make additional changes or something because those rules didn't work or they weren't completely effective, which we've seen that before with other vulnerabilities. So, yeah. Let me go see what I've got on Feedly. Let's see if anybody has thought of anything else about regarding uh, React to Shell. Threat intel. See if anybody's got any write-ups on these things. Uh, React to Shell under attack. They're also saying React to Shell vulnerabilities is under attack from China and Nexus groups, APT type groups, according to Google. Um, Google Dark Reading. Dark Reading is also suggesting that. So that's why we can't. Maximum severity patch. Yeah, React JavaScript library. There we go. Normally we have us a nice document and everything for this, but there we go.
Yeah. Oh, and then
So
make sure
yeah,
you run a credentialed scan too, because your vulnerable system may be behind a paywall or authentication.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're behind Cloudflare, there's you've got some protection there because their WAF is blocking this. But if you have some method by, able to go around Cloudflare, because I'm starting to read several blog posts where somebody was like, is Cloudflare more of a liability than it needs to be? They're saying, well, you should have some kind of way to get around Cloudflare if Cloudflare was to go down, or stop things like an outage of your cloud provider. But if Cloudflare, which is supposed to stop against DDoS attacks, goes down, it's going to take your site with it, right? And they've had a rough couple months, to be honest. They've had a
Yeah.
couple of outages, a couple of issues. Um,
Hmm.
they're supposed to protect you against that kind of stuff, against denial of service. But when the denial of service
It
goes denial of
sucks.
service, yeah,
Yeah,
then you run into
that's
issues.
defeating the
So,
purpose.
yo, dog, I heard you like denial of services, so I denial of service your denial of service. So, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so,
Also, like if you detect it, don't assume that, well, if I have a WAF, so that's preventing any um, exploitation. But what
right,
if the attacker used the vulnerability before your WAF applied its rule set,
sure,
and now they have shell,
right,
okay,
right, right,
and it doesn't need to be vulnerable anymore because they've already got a backdoor. They've
right,
already
and I
installed malware. They've already
right.
done something for
Right, and
persistence.
I think that's Deluxe's point of view. Real question, in that case would be like, what kind of activity should we see or should we expect from the web server if it's been owned, or the application server if it's been owned? There'd be connections being made out potentially, over non-standard ports. Your application server, and forgive me, depending on what your environment is set up like. You're If you're following the three-tiered method where you have a web server, application server, and then all the data store underneath, your application server should not be making random connections out to somewhere else. It
Yeah.
should be going to and from the web server for the most part. I would assume. Your mileage may vary. Some assembly may require. You would want to you. This is that place where you'd want to know what is normal, right? What is the normal in your organization? Yeah, this doesn't. This is legit traffic. This is legit traffic. Oh wait, it's going out to China. Why is it going
Yeah.
out to China? We don't even do work in China. Why is a connection being made directly to this server instead of going through the other bits? You might also
Yeah. And
look
if
for
you're
traffic that is bypassing the WAF as well. You know that may not be coming in directly from the WAF there as well.
true. Yeah. If you don't have egress filtering.
Right, right. According to AWS's blog post about this, they said systematically troubleshooting exploitation attempts. They had 116 total requests across 52 minutes, attempted multiple exploit payloads, executing Linux commands whoami ID, attempted writes to /temp/pwned.txt, and tried to read Etsy passwords. So yeah, something shouldn't be trying to that's just like, those are just pokes, right? That's just like, what can I do? Who am I? That kind of stuff. So if you've got a web request coming in, or you've got something that's coming in on your logs that is asking who am I ID, these are not 100% things, but if it's happening regularly, like 116 requests across 52 minutes, hopefully you'd be able to find those things. Anything trying to read Etsy password, should be blocked immediately, black hold forever, that kind of stuff. So this behavior demonstrates threat actors aren't just running automated scans, but actively debugging and refining their exploitation techniques against live targets. But yeah, so look for.
All
Oh,
right,
they
Brian,
also.
I gotta go.
Okay, all right. You have yourself a good night, sir. And yeah, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
finish up here in the next few minutes. How would people find you if you wanted to get a hold of you?
Well, if they're in security, they should be able to find me. But
Oh
yes,
my,
I'm on
oh
LinkedIn,
my.
so
Okay, LinkedIn. All
um,
right,
there
very
are
cool.
ways. Um, yeah, I won't see you next week because I have work stuff to do
Okay,
um, in the evenings. But yeah, in a couple of weeks,
okay, sounds good, sir. Have a good night.
let's schedule it out. All right, you
All
too.
right,
Bye.
later. Bye. Okay, just me. Excellent. Hey, that transition worked. Let me make sure that he's. Yeah, it's just me on the Zooms. So, okay. Well, that was unexpected, but that's a good. I'm glad I was able to hang out with him. So, um, this is what I was going to do when I was uh, if Mr. Betcher hadn't come and joined us. So yeah, AWS's blog here mentions they deployed a custom WAF rule. They said look for post requests with next action or RSC action ID headers. That's another potential check that you can use for this. Check for unexpected process execution or file modifications on the application servers. So yeah, right here they said analysis of data from MadPot, which I'm assuming is their honeypot. Um, uh, had IP addresses from 183.6.80.214 for an hour. Again, that IP address could change, so that's not necessarily a good indicator. As we know, Miss Berlin and them had taught us that IP addresses are the lowest form of IOC because they're malleable, right? They can change over time. And they found it, yeah, it started at 2:30 a.m. UTC on December 4th, so that's 7 for me. So roughly like 7 or 8 p.m., I think, Pacific time on the 3rd of December. Um, and this is kind of right up on what they did to help protect against things. Their active defense system, their WAF rules, MadPot intelligence. Yeah, their global honeypot system. So MadPot is their global honeypot. AWS threat intelligence was investigating exploitation. So yeah, indicators of compromised HTTP post requests to application endpoints with next action or RSC action ID. Requesting bodies containing $ at patterns, request bodies containing status resolved model patterns, poking around with whoami, uname, ID, etc pass, playing in the temp directory, which doesn't make any sense, or any new processes spawned by Node.js or React. So there you go. They're attributing or using attribution to these other IP addresses to unattributed threat clusters, or Jackpot Panda or Earthlamia. I don't know who those folks are. They're probably cool, cool sounding. There you go. APT threat actor named Earthlamia, Lamia, targeting multiple industries in Brazil, India, and Southeast Asia. Threat actor exploits vulnerabilities in web apps to gain access to targeted organizations. Okay, well, there you go. They use Pulse Pack and Bypass Boss. Targeting, yeah, organizing since 2023. This is the Trend Micro's write-up for that. Let's see what their write-up for this is. Let's see. They can fully compromise a server in a single HTTP request. Wow. Okay. Oh, pay no attention to this over here. If it had just been me tonight, I would have been doing some threat intelligence KC7 cyber stuff. That's the facts and things that I was using to follow along with that. If you can't patch right away, disable your server functions if possible and deploy WAF rules. I think that's the important thing. They mentioned, right, what is React? React server components is the new type of component that renders ahead of time before bundling in an environment separate from your client app or SSR server. They can run it once at build time in your CI server. They can be ran for each request using a web server. So if you're not using server components, you can safely disable them. That also would help you in protection against this until you can get your patches in order. If you're already like cutting bleeding edge and using this already, the WAF rules are going to be great. Blocking the IP addresses is okay. It's not perfect, and you're gonna, some other, they're gonna, bounce their router and get a different IP address, or they're gonna go through an exit node or something like that and get a different IP, or through a VPN and get a different IP. There's a number of different ways you can do that. So yeah, if you're interested in server components, the links are in the chat there. You may notice that the server component above is an async function. Right. So I am not a React. I wouldn't say React fan. It's just I am not aware enough of what React is to be able to speak intelligently to that. Yep. So let me see what else. 40% of the top 10,000 websites are leveraging React. Apparently, Facebook uses React quite a bit. I think that's because they created it. Why does that sound right? Who created React? Yeah. Okay. So Jordan Walk, software engineer at Facebook, now Meta, developed React in 2011. While working on Facebook's advertising platform, he drew inspiration from XHP, a PHP library for building UI components, and sought to apply similar component-based ideas to JavaScript for more efficient and maintainable user interfaces. A prototype called Faux.js or Fax.js was used at Facebook before being officially released as open source. Huh. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay, so that was 5 years ago. Started his own company. Um, okay. So yeah, uh, that's the important thing. Oh, here's the article I was reading from. Within hours of the disclosure, Amazon Threat Intelligence observed active exploitation. So that's the blog post I read that I mentioned. Um, Although Moses conceded it's difficult to make per attack attributions due to China's large scale anonymization networks, he added the majority of observed autonomous system numbers, or ASNs, for attributing unattributed activity are associated with Chinese infrastructure, further confirming that most exploitation activity originates from that region. These groups aren't limiting their activities to this specific CVE, 55182, threat intelligence teams, other recent end-day vulnerabilities. It's a systemic approach, right? Although Chinese Nexus attackers may be among the first to target, that does not mean they'll be the only ones, as they're still in the early days of this threat. The other problem is with like bug bounty researchers trying to exploit these servers. Yeah, you're gonna have a lot of noise in the next couple of weeks, especially if you're one of those top 10,000 servers on the internet. People are going to be banging on your React servers like nobody's business. So I don't envy the folks that maintain these systems. It's a shame that we didn't find this ahead of time, or it wasn't an easy fix. Um, and of course, this was written when this was written on the 5th. They said widespread exploitation has not yet begun, but I think that there are exploits available for this. Let me go see. Sure, there's no shortage of them online here. Let's see, GitHub. I'm sure GitHub is monitoring anything that might have a. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Asset Notes shell scanner is available right here. You can go and. So there's multiple ways of doing this. If you wanted to find out, at scale, you're going to want to, have some method by which you can do it to multiple boxes. You may be busy, taking your React servers offline, or removing them and creating a new Docker file or Kubernetes instance to deploy for this. Um, Hopefully, your environment or architecture is such that if you have SREs or your DevOps folks have found ways to limit, so that the only thing that gets owned is that server, or anything that is connected to it is not going to be able to gain access out. Let me go see what this. Oh, it's a Python scanner. Okay, let's go see Python 3. It requires very few dependencies, which is great. That's awesome. Oh no, never mind. Argparse, sys, JSON, OS. So it's going to run some OS commands. Got some try bits here. Install pip tqdm if you can't make it work. Oh, they put colors in here, which is great. So you got some colors. Colorize the output of the text so you can see it. If you're colorblind, you may want to disable these things so it's all one color. They have a tool banner. Cool. So they've got some cool ASCII art, no doubt. Normalize a strip. Let's see. Build a safe multi-part. Okay. So they're all right. WebKit. Okay, so here's one of the bits. It looks very much like a shell shock or something like that, where you've got the what was the shell shock? Um, no, maybe I'm thinking of something else. Yeah, I think I may be thinking of Heartbleed. String. Mm, if you know, put it in the comments below on the YouTube channel. I remember there being a very famous one. I just you know my brain is no longer working right now. Uh, Varcell WAF bypass payload. Oh, interesting. So if your organization using Varcell WAF, this will why it's bypassing the WAF of it's bypassing your WAF to attempt to do this online. So I guess that's the other thing we got to think about, right? If you're using Varcell WAF, you're using Cisco or one of those other ones where there could be some method by which you can bypass the WAF. This is not a WAF rules are not I don't want to say silver bullet, but they're only going to be so good, right? If a determined attacker that already has a playbook of they're using Cisco WAF, I know the bit to get past the WAF in this case, um, it's going to be like a bullet through tissue paper. The WAF is going to get bypassed regardless. So just because you have the WAF rules in doesn't necessarily mean that you're good. You're still going to have, I don't say additional layers, but you're going to have a plan to either patch your stuff sooner rather than later, or disable server components, or have another method by which of doing that. WAF rules and done is just not going to be good enough. Um, did they bypass other ones? Let me see. Nope. Build RCE payload. Okay. I know a little bit of Python, just not enough to be dangerous, as you know, if you've watched the stream on any uh, bit of time here. So if response status is 301, 302, 303, 307, 308, get location, if location starts with slash. Uh, okay. So how large is this script? Yeah, somebody did a lot of work really quick. A couple of 800 lines of code or something here. Check if a host is vulnerable, right? Tests the root path first. If not vulnerable, let read and redirects exist. Tests redirect path. Okay, so that's an important thing. Invalid or empty host paths is vulnerable. Safe check. Okay, if Varcell WAF bypass, I guess maybe the Varcell WAF. Why is Varcell's WAF vulnerable? Maybe the UI there uses React for its backend or for its backend. Maybe it uses React.js and some. There we go. Vercel has partnered with HackerOne for responsible disclosure of critical Vercel platform protection workarounds. Valid reports that demonstrate successful bypass of the protections will be awarded for this CVE only. Wow. So if you find a company that has a Vercel WAF and able to bypass their WAF, like that GitHub appeared to have bypassed the WAF, you'll get $25,000 for a high and $50,000 for a critical. Interesting. Interesting. Let me see. Okay, so HackerOne has a bug bounty program with Vercel. See, this is kind of cool. So they have they have specific ones for this, right? In the overviews, looking for valid reports to demonstrate the bypass of the WAF rules, allowing for exploitation of React2shell. We're making this public available for disclosure of WAF workarounds on the platform. It's only to bypass the WAF. Only an application has been set up for this purpose, and you can test it there. So if you test this check, so okay. So they have a flag. So this is almost like a CTF. So if you can submit the value of platform protection environment variable to HackerOne, get after it, folks. You need a quick $25,000 or $50,000. I mean, if I could, do any kind of hacking whatsoever myself, I'd be on this like a snowball in Buffalo right now. So, um, hmm. Hello world. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, go check this out. I mean, they seem fairly confident that they're putting up $50,000 of their money to be able to. Why did my message fail to send? There we go. Message failed to send, but it did not send this time. Make a good faith effort to avoid privacy violations, data destruction, or degradation of service. Ask the program team before submitting vulnerabilities on unscoped subdomains. Only interact with domains you own, accounts with explicit permission, or test account provided by Vercel. Yeah. I think this is the best option right here, especially for this type of vulnerability. Last thing you want to do is, you could actually double dip in this case, I think, probably, because you could submit it here and then you could submit it to the teams that have React servers, that have Vercel WAFs as well. And if it's on, I don't know how often, but double dipping occurs, but I could imagine that, somebody would go to HackerOne and then do the same thing on a bug crowd or something like that. So I don't doubt that. I don't know what would be considered a high versus a critical though. Maybe it depends on the type of bypass or how the bypass, whatever the code does to bypass the firewall. Maybe you get to a certain point. That's it. Doesn't give you an idea of what high is, but they don't want to give you a high. So apparently somebody's already gotten something for this. Hash Kitten has been one of the first people to get a hold of this. So, and the one thing is, it seems like they're invested in wanting to make sure this happens. So this is going to be one of those things where you're not going to sit around for 3 to 4 months waiting for them to fix the issue. This is going to get fixed pretty quickly because this affects every customer that they have. If somebody's using a Vercel WAF and you can get around their WAF to like it's nothing, then yeah, you're gonna run it. They're gonna have a bad day. So, cool. Well, I don't have to do my threat intelligence stuff, and as long as I don't have a jury duty, which for those of you who might have been here earlier, I have jury duty this week, so I may not be on Tuesday. I have to call Monday night to find out if I'm going to be called in on Tuesday, and I'm actually on the hook until like Thursday night, I think. Wednesday or Thursday. So we'll have to see. Otherwise, I am going to go and finish watching the game. Go Texans. Even though I'm a Chargers fan, I don't want the Chiefs in the playoffs. So I just have to go down and see what the score is. Actually, I can see what the score is right now. Oh, it's 10-10. Ugh. Fourth quarter, 11 minutes left. Okay. Go Texans. Anyway, thanks to Deluxy for coming on. Thank you to Deluxy for telling me that my audio is broken. Appreciate you. Okay. I didn't mention the not use pug Wi-Fi thing, and Cholima's wings got clipped. There was a pretty humorous write-up about some guys going after Lazarus Group. Let me see if I can. I'll post that up into chat because it was hilarious. I mean, they have they had video and screenshots of these folks, getting them to install malware on their own systems. It was just max lulls. So it's a good read, and I wish there was video of it, but I'm imagining that they're keeping that for potential law enforcement. Where is that at? That's not it. Okay. There it is. The Bitso Quetzal team is the one that did the write-up on this. But yeah, they did a whole thing on Lazarus Group and chollima. Chollima is a winged horse from Korean mythology. Just to give you an idea what a chollima is when you see it in the news. But yeah, they got them they got them to download and install stuff on their computers. I mean, they have screenshots of these people. Yeah, it's pretty funny. They have a video. Okay, so the video and the threat actors are muted to avoid disclosing certain indicators. They may upload a full version in the future. I'm gonna have to watch that video tomorrow and make a lot of laughs because it looks like they got these folks real good. So, yeah, hope you have a good week, everybody. Hope you are not having to deal with all of this that's going on with React, and hopefully it will get resolved quickly for you. And I'm gonna go and hang out with the family and continue looking for jobs. So if you're looking for somebody who is like a senior manager, senior security manager, head of security, virtual CISO roles, looking for something that's somewhat remote, or if it's in San Diego, I would not be against coming into an office in San Diego. So please hit me up. I'm on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/breakbeat. And you can, hit me up, or I'll hit you up, because if your company's hiring, I will definitely be reaching out to you. So hope everyone has a good day, good week, good day and good week, and take care of yourselves, because we're fond of saying, you're the only you have. Okay? Y'all take care now.